Good evening. This is Kendall Bryan Hunter, the Midnight Philosopher, with tonight's empowering thought. Question: if we have science, why do we need philosophy and religion? After all, science has given us things like the computer, our smartphones, the internet, all these pharmaceuticals, antibiotics, the space shuttle, the International Space Station, etc., etc. Science seems to be working pretty well. Why do we need other things in addition to science? Well, Peter Kreeft, in his book Summa Philosophica, deals with that question. This is from page 21. Uh, First of all, he makes a point. First of all, it's not true that the only method for legitimate or reliable demonstrating truth is a scientific method. For if that were so, then nothing would ever have to be demonstrated legitimately or reliably anywhere, by any means, in any culture, by anyone, whether philosopher, sage, or ordinary person in any era before the rise of the scientific method in the West about 500 years ago, which is absurd. Socrates was not a sophist, and Aristotle was not a myth maker. But more to the point, Kreeft writes, philosophy's ultimate appeal is to religion, religion's to faith. Thus, they're essentially distinct method, and even though their subject matter may overlap. And that raises an interesting question. First of all, I had to tweak his definition a bit. Philosophy appeals to argument and reason, religion to faith and revelation, but science appeals to experimentation and observation. There's different methodologies involved, but also different subject matter. One of the problems that's discussed in science is whether science should be methodologically naturalistic, that you assume atheism for science to work. And that's a debated question because it entails a type of circular reasoning. If you start with the assumption that science is atheistic, of course you're going to get atheistic results. But more to the point is that can you get meaning out of science by performing such and such experiment? Does this give us meaning? And the question is no, we can understand brain chemistry, but what are really optimal brain states? What does it mean to be happy? And that's a question that philosophy asks, and that's also a question that religion can provide, is what is the meaning of happiness, and what your purpose is, and what direction you should take in life. So no, science is useful, and no one argues with it. Furthermore, we talk about religion being abused, as in the case of 9/11. Here's an interesting question. Was Joan of Arc a radicalized religionist? Read Shakespeare's play on Henry VIII before you answer that question. But think about this. Science can be abused, religion can be abused, and philosophy can be abused. And so abuse really is a non-issue because anything can be abused. So back to the point is I think that you need everything to have a well-rounded life, science, religion, and philosophy to function, just because they have the different methodologies, the different subject matter, and the different approaches. And that's tonight's empowering thought.